My top 3 fountain pens for 2021. Sailor. This is the Pro Gear Mini, my first ever. This is Pelican, my first ever Pelican. Red Tortoise from, is it 2020 or 2021 edition? They have a yearly edition. This is their last installment of a 4 pen series of their Mount Fuji series by Platinum. The reason why this made it top 3 of this year's fountain pen for me is not for the design. I mean, the design is immaculate. Those laser cut faceting is quite a craft, but red and gold isn't my favorite combination, and this red is very strong. I tend to prefer deep lacquer blood red, and this is bright fire engine red. So I actually sold my first pen of this particular pen in medium nib, I think. No, broad. And I repurchased a medium one because I already have a broad nib from Platinum, which is the purple one, the one before this, the year before this. I'll put the particulars down below in the description. And I was very nervous because my medium nib experience with Sailor has been pretty patchy. They've been very, both Platinum and Sailor, I don't know if this is true for or typical of Japanese nibs, but not only are they thinner so that their mediums are more like the European fine, but they're also more, they're designed to have feedback. They're designed to be able to feel the paper. And on broad nibs, that's delicious, but on finer nibs, depending on what kind of paper, depending on how you grip, your angle, and your writing style, this can be a bit of a mixed bag. But I already have a broad Platinum, so I felt really guilty about spending so much money on another broad from Platinum. And I have an extra fine from Platinum, which was an accident. That was my first one, the Roca, the clear, the one that looks like crystal. And I'll put a link up there when I unbox it. I haven't inked that because it's just way too fine. But because I was new to fountain pen at the time, it was leftovers. It was cleanup stock on a heavy discount. It was a very good price in relation, I mean, relative to how they have priced these Fuji series lately. But this was such an amazing nib. This medium is so amazing. I won't do writing samples because I found that when I talk I can't do writing samples, so I'll do a separate video. But this was such an experience. My mind was blown. It was smooth but with complete feedback. I could feel the paper. It is the equivalent of walking without shoes, barefooted on smooth tiny gravels or on a smooth sandy beach. I can feel every stroke, but it was smooth. It doesn't tire. It didn't tire my hand. Usually with a lot more feedback on paper, I found that with my writing style, I write really big and really messy. With a lot more friction on the paper, it tires my hand a lot faster. And so that's why the Sailor medium, the Sailor finer nibs are a bit of a mixed bag, depending on whether it's 14 karat, depending on whether sometimes when you say medium, they give you a hard medium, which makes things worse for me. Or sometimes they give you medium fine. For whatever reason, when you say medium or broad, for whatever reason, in my experience, it was never clarified whether I'm getting a hard medium or a normal medium or a soft, because I prefer soft medium. And harder nibs on broader ones can be tolerable with these Japanese ones with a lot of feedback. European ones that glides like this one here, this Pelican, right like butter. That's a whole different dynamic. So, but anyway, this was like nothing I've ever experienced before. It's a medium nib Platinum, and I was very, very nervous because a lot of the medium Sailor, as I've mentioned, has been a bit of a mixed bag. So my theory is that I think in their 21K alloy they've mixed Platinum in the metal in the nib, because Platinum is known to be very, very hard, but but not hard like steel. It has a certain, like in jewelry, a lot of the early Art Nouveau style, the early 1900s, have very intricate designs, metal designs, and they can only be done on platinum because platinum's hard enough to work with in very very small dimensions. So they can work with very thin metal, but sturdy. So they can work with thin but sturdy. With gold, for example, if you create intricate work in rings and jewelry, they can bend really quickly because gold is soft, while platinum is hard. So they can design very delicate jewelry work. So I'm thinking that the fact that this is the best finer nib I've ever experienced, I wonder if they have platinum in the alloy. I believe this is 21K. Where is it? Yeah, no, it's 14K. So that's even more amazing. It's 14 karat gold, it's medium, and yet I found the 21 karat medium sailor a lot scratchier, or a lot less smooth. I shouldn't use the word scratchy, because scratchy is like writing with a needle. It get hot in the paper, like it snags, it's toothy. This is so smooth, but it's so much feedback. It's such an experience I cannot explain other than walking barefooted on, without shoes, on smooth tiny gravels. So that's a 14K, and contrast that with a medium 21K that didn't make it as a top, that's a top pen for 2021, but I will review, like this one here. This is a 21K, 21 karat. Right, 21 karat medium, and this feels a little harder. So it's these nibs are really quite interesting dynamic that I'm still trying to understand. So let's move on to the second one, and this is a broad, very, very soft, the softest broad sailor nib I've ever had. This is 21K, and here you could see it has hard, is that H broad? I can't see. I think that says hard broad. It's not, or is it medium broad? Can you see? There. HB or MB? My eyes are struggling to see. I think that's... But this feels really, really broad. And the reason why this made it as my top 3 is not only because the nib is really, really comfortable, but this mini is the most comfortable pen, the most comfortable mini pen I've ever owned. Not that I've owned a lot of mini pen. So this converted into a full-size pen very, very well. I have some Kaweco, but I struggle with Kaweco with the threading being further down, or I don't know how it is, but especially with the plastic Kaweco, I ended up writing on the threading, so it makes it really uncomfortable for my fingers. With the Kaweco aluminium, it's better for some reason, but I will talk about that in a separate video on my review of my various Kaweco and my Kaweco collection so far. So this is actually the oldest of the 3 set pen. The aesthetic isn't completely mine, but I saw some people talking about it, and I have the Ochituke, sorry for my pronunciation, Hobonichi cover with the Japanese calligraphy, this simple sort of minimalistic look, sort of undyed cream cotton black brushstrokes with a little Japanese, traditional Japanese, similar to Korean and Chinese seal, made of a very dark, thick ink, usually this ink paste that I used to use when I studied traditional Chinese painting way back in the day. I'll talk about that separately. And I wanted something to match. I wanted that red lacquer pen to match the cover, and I've been eyeing Pelican for the longest time, but wasn't really sure because I like a streamlined design. So if it's going to break color, then let's have fun with it like this. If not, I prefer everything to be in a sort of same flow. With Pelikan, a lot of the times, because they are sticking to their old design, they have the cap solid, the back here solid, and then the body is like this, because usually, not in this case, but usually they are created like this so that you could see the level of the ink inside, because this is piston filler, so you can't really open up the body to check the ink level like with this one. You know, you could do this and you can just check if you're running out of ink or whatever. But with these piston filler, it's built in, so the striation there is created. If you look against the sun, you could see the ink level, not in this case though. So I was kind of more curious than anything, and I know having, you know, being a limited edition for that year, I know I can resell it with no issue, and I know Pelikan is an established brand. But oh my god, this is a medium, was it 21K? No, it's 14K. So again, this isn't the softest metal. I don't know what mixture of alloy they use for the gold nib there, but this was my first gold nib ever. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they don't use, Pelikan use, they don't use plastic feeder, they use, what is it called? Ebonite, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I have been wondering whether the ebonite feeder have something to do with how the ink or how the nib writes. It's so soft. I've never experienced anything like it. I would describe this as writing on butter. Like, it's so smooth, it's floaty, it's fluffy, and it's just smooth. And it's not just smooth against the paper, but there's a certain cushiness that feels really cushy, really fluffy. It's like if you press against cotton balls or marshmallows, that's how it feels like. And I absolutely love it. The medium feels a little bit more broader than the average medium, but it feels perfect for me. The ink flow and everything is just perfect. And so this has been the highlight. So I've ordered, after this, I've ordered a fine, this green edition that I have spoken about, and I bought it from Applebum, which is Dutch for apple tree. And again, I'll do a review of this. There is a little bit of a snag on the nib, so I don't know if they've tuned it. It's not feedback, no, it's actually toothy. It's literally a snag, like a scratch on a particular stroke, especially this stroke. So I feel that one of the tines might be either misaligned or not. So this is fine. And so other than that, it is another beautiful experience. But this didn't make it for the top 3 because of that snag. So I am still making up my mind. Once I've gotten rid of that snag, I think this would be as perfect as this. But this was my first experience, I guess. This was it was my first exposure to Pelikan. Without this pen, I would not have dared to touch Pelikan. So for me, it's a landmark pen because of that. It opens up my eyes and my experience to the Pelikan pen. I could highly recommend. This is an M600, so it's not too big and it's not too thick. A lot of people like 800. The 800 has a metal piston, while the 600 is plastic, so it's lighter. So the mechanism under here is plastic. This is these two really blew my mind. These two, like, I've literally had an experience, with these two. The nibs mainly. As I said, I'm not usually a fan of red, and the design here isn't my favorite, but the nibs is just amazing. This one is the overall, really. The overall is just, the nib itself feels a little bit, it's very, very comfortable, but didn't blow my mind. It's just really, really comfortable. And so as a contrast, I contrasted the medium, this one with this one. This particular broad sailor writes completely differently to this broad here, so I'm actually quite fascinated by this whole comparison. I love this one. So this is a an honorable mention. This is their pen of the year, quote unquote, 2021, I believe. So pen of the year as in, I'm not quite sure, but they call it pen of the year. This is 21K and it is a broad. See, broad. No, what is it? Is it broad? Hard broad? Medium broad? Can you see what that is? This is my favorite pen, my favorite nib from Sailor, and I've kind of really, once again, the Supernova that's coming my way. The Sailor Supernova Tokyo International Pen Show Edition for 2021. I've ordered it in medium. This is the 1911 large. It's not actually that large. It's kind of pretty average, as you can see from the measurement here. But they've created a smaller version, so they call this a large. Yeah, we'll see if softer nib, this is 21 karat broad. This is 21 karat Sailor medium. So I'm very nervous about it because this 21 karat medium is not soft at all. So again, if you have the Supernova in the broad 2021 and want to swap with me, let me know down below. So yeah, so honorable mentions, this one, because the most comfortable, the nib wise, and I also really like the design, so this hit all the spots for me. But definitely this broad Sailor took the top position for this year because of the design, how comfortable it is, the most comfortable mini I've ever experienced. My other experience with the mini is with Kaweco, and it hasn't been the most comfortable. So this is the best of both worlds. It's pocket, it's small, but it's also comfortable because it converts really well as a full-size pen. This nib is just incredible, undescribable, and this nib is at the opposite scale, the opposite end of this, hard with feedback but smooth. This is extra soft and extra thick and fluffy. Yeah, so that's 1, 2, 3 honorable mention. There's this one here, and that's it.